Welcome back, children. In your previous class, you have seen that Holmes was seriously ill and Dr. Watson went to see him. But he did not permit Watson to treat him or call Dr. Anstey and locked him inside his room. Now, I'll discuss the rest of the lesson. The next moment, he had staggered back to his bed, completely exhausted. The next moment, after locking Dr. Watson inside the room, he staggered back. Staggered back means moved or walked unsteadily back to his bed, completely exhausted. He had no strength at all. You won't take the key from me by force, Watson. You will not be taking the key by force from me. Here you are. And here you will stay unless I wish otherwise. So, when I tell you to move out, you will go. Otherwise, you will stay inside the room. It's 4 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, you can go. At 6 o'clock, I'll permit you to go. I seem to have no choice. There was no other option than obeying him. None at all. Now, Watson, there's one other condition I would make. I don't have any other conditions, Watson. Only one condition is there. I am putting forward in front of you. You will seek help not from the man you mentioned, but from the one I choose. You will seek help. What the condition is this. You will seek help not from the man you mention, but from the one I choose. Whom I choose, you will bring that man only, not the one whose name you have taken. By all means, I said. Watson said, by all means. At 6, Watson, we resume our conversation. Exactly at 6 o'clock, we will resume means restart. Our conversation, our discussion or talk will start at 6 o'clock. Till that time, I'll take rest. Unable to settle down, I walked slowly down the room, examining the pictures of celebrated criminals with which every wall was adorned. I was not in a position to sit because I was so restless. Dr. Watson says, unable to settle down, I walked slowly around the room, examining the pictures of celebrated criminals. So many criminals' pictures were hung on the wall, and it was decorated with these pictures, we can say. That means there were so many pictures of well-known, we cannot say non-criminals, on the wall. Finally, I came to the mantelpiece. I was examining all those pictures, and finally, I came to the mantelpiece. Dr. Watson reached the mantelpiece. Mantelpiece means a structure above the fireplace is called a mantelpiece. In the midst of a jumble of objects was a small black and white ivory box with a sliding lid. So many things were put there. Untidy heap is called a jumble. In the midst of a jumble of objects, that means so many things were kept there. And in the middle of it, there was one thing. There was a white ivory box with a sliding lid. We can move smoothly. That sliding lid means the lid can be moved smoothly. I stretched out my hand to examine it more closely. I had so much of anxiety. What is there inside it? So, Watson stretched out his hand to examine it more closely. It was a dreadful cry that he gave. Put it down, put it down. This instant, Watson. As I was taking it, Holmes shouted lightly. It was a dreadful cry. Dreadful cry means frightful cry that he gave. Put it down. This instant, Watson. Watson, you put down that box. His head sank back upon the pillow, and he gave a deep sigh of relief as I kept the box back upon the mantelpiece. When I put it back, he released a deep sigh. That means something bad was about to take place. Like that, he felt, and he was relieved when I put it back on the table. Thank you, that is excellent. What you have done is excellent. Now you will have the kindness to place some letters and papers upon this table within my reach. Near my table, you bring some of those papers and letters. There's a sugar tongue over there. One sugar, that forceps-like thing is there. Kindly raise that small ivory box with its assistance. What you have to do is take that sugar tongue and raise that small ivory box with its help. Assistance means help. Place it here among the papers. You keep among the papers here, near me. You can now go and fetch Mr. Culverton Smith of 13 Lower Burke Street. Now, after doing this, you please go and bring Mr. Culverton Smith of 13 Lawberg Street. I've never heard the name, I said. I told him I have never heard this Culverton Smith. Watson, it may surprise you to know that the man who is best versed in this disease is not a medical man, but a planter. You may be surprised to hear that the person who is an expert in curing this kind of disease is not a medical man, that means not a doctor, but a planter. Planter means the manager of a plantation like rubber or tea plantations, etc. So, best versed means knowledgeable. The best person to treat such a disease is not a medical man but a planter. Mr. Smith is well-known resident of Sumatra, now visiting London. So, Mr. Smith is a well-known resident. He is a very famous person and now he is visiting London. If you could persuade him to come here and give us the benefit of his unique experience of this disease, the investigation of which has been his dearest hobby, I cannot doubt that he could help me. If you could persuade him, if you insist him or inspire him or induce him to come here and give us the benefit of his unique experience, he has individual or distinctive experience in this field. And if you go and persuade him and bring him here, the investigation of which has been his dearest hobby, he loves to investigate this kind of diseases. I cannot doubt that he could help me. That means I am sure he will be the right person to help me. There's no good feeling between us. But one thing is there, we are not in good terms. There is no good feeling between us means we are not in good terms. His nephew, Watson, the boy died in a horrible way. Because long back, one boy, his nephew, died in a very bad way. I had suspicions of foul play. When he died, I had suspicions of foul play. I had some doubt about some foul play or unfair act there. So he is not in terms with me and I allowed him to say it. He has a grudge against me. He has a dislike against me. You will soften him and bring him, Watson. You will soften him. You have to convince him and bring him here. I'll bring him in a cab if I have to carry him down to it. So I'll go now and I'll bring him in a cab. Cab means a horse-drawn carriage is called a cab. If I have to carry him down to it. Surely, if I can surely I'll bring him in a horse-drawn carriage. You will do no such thing. Now Holmes said, you will do no such thing. You will persuade him to come. You have to inspire him. You have to persuade him to come and then return before him. Don't come with him. You return before him. Make any excuse so as to not come with him. You make any excuse, but make sure that you will not come with him. Don't forget, Watson. Don't fail me. So, please don't forget this one and don't make me fail in this case. He lay back upon the bed, murmuring in a confused way about oceans and fishes. He was saying something which is not related to the other talks which he had, as if he is very sick. I left him babbling like a child. Babbling means what? Speaking in a meaningless and confused manner is called babbling. So he was babbling like a child and descended down the steps of the house. I went down. As I stood whistling for a cab, a man came to me through the fog. As I was whistling for a cab, I was calling one cab that time, a man came to me through the fog. Through the fog, one man came to me. How is Mr. Holmes, sir? He asked. It was an old acquaintance, Inspector Morton of Scotland Yard. How is Mr. Holmes, sir? He asked me, how is he? It was an old acquaintance. Acquaintance means associate or a familiar person. Inspector Morton of Scotland Yard. Inspector Morton of Scotland Yard was the person who came to Watson and asked about Mr. Holmes. He is very ill, I answered. I was surprised to see a slight smile upon his face. When I said he is very ill, Watson could see a slight smile upon his face. However, Before I could think more about it, the cab drove up and I left him. By that time, the cab came and Dr. Watson left him and went. The house at Lowerberg Street had old-fashioned iron railings, a massive folding door, and shining brasswork. Old type structure was there for that houses in that Lowerberg Street. A butler appeared and took up my card. Butler means a man. Servant is called a butler. A butler appeared and took up my card. He came and took my card, visiting card. Who is this person? What does he want? Well, I won't see him. Whoever he be, I don't want to see anybody now. Through the half-open door, I heard his high, penetrating voice. Through the half-open door, Dr. Watson could hear the loud and hard voice of the person. Before the butler could deliver his message, I pushed past him and was inside the room. Before the butler could come and tell me that he doesn't want to meet him, Watson pushed past him and went inside the room. With a shrill cry of anger, he was very angry. When I went inside, Smith was very angry. A man rose from a reclining chair beside the fire. He was sitting on a chair beside the fire that time, and he got up from there. What's this? He cried in a high screaming voice. He shouted like anything. Why? What you are doing? I am sorry, said I, but the matter cannot be delayed. I am very sorry, but I cannot delay the matter. That's why I came inside. Mr. Sherlock Holmes, he said this much only. Mr. Sherlock Holmes. The mention of my friend's name had an extraordinary effect upon the little man. As I mentioned Sherlock Holmes, there was an extraordinary effect on the face of the man, or the action, or the attitude of the man changed. The mention of my friend's name had an extraordinary effect upon the little man. The look of anger passed in an instant from his face. He was very angry till that moment, but his anger vanished. Have you come from Holmes? He asked. Then he asked me, have you come from Holmes? He is desperately ill. He is desperately ill, very ill. He is dying. He is dying. Now he will die. That's why I have come. That's the reason I have come, to get some relief or some help from you. That's the reason why I have come. Okay, children, rest of the lesson we will see in the next class.